Hey guys, we're back. Let's see. As promised, we'll try and work our way through the Enduring Issues Mad Lib today. So, in the last YouTube video, we learned a little bit about what an Enduring Issues essay is and the writing prompt and the different ways you can think about linking documents from different time periods together. I use the example of a Pandora bracelet, right? You have a common thread that weaves through multiple documents from different time periods, or at least that contain information from different time periods. And you have to figure out a common thread that ties them together and then pick 3 of the 5 documents to place on that thread and then write an essay regarding that. So today I kind of want to model that a little bit with the Enduring Issues essay Mad Lib that is attached to the back of your Enduring Issues, or it should be the last page on your Enduring Issues packet. So what you're looking at here on my screen is the first page. You'll remember that I took the writing prompt, which in your packet might be later. But for purposes of this lesson, I've redesigned it and moved the writing prompt first so that you can read what you actually have to do. So in your essay, you have to identify an enduring issue, that it's raised by a set of the documents. And remember, a set of the documents means 3 of the 5 documents. And you have to use your knowledge of social studies and the evidence from the documents and argue why that issue is significant over time. Be sure to identify some historically accurate interpretations of the documents and define the issues using, again, 3 documents. So that's that Pandora bracelet idea again, of choosing 3 documents that will tie together with the same common thread. So the Mad Lib is located towards the end. And my goal here is to help students that aren't necessarily great writers. If you are a good writer, you can use this template as kind of like a little fill in the blank or taking notes and figure out how you want to get organized. But if you're a good writer, you should be able to take this idea and put it into your own words. For other students, their writing might not be as strong, and this template, this little Mad Lib format, provides a way for them to get organized, plug information into correct spots, sort of learn how a paragraph develops. Some kids get writer's block. They'll write a sentence and they go, I don't know what to write next. Well, this kind of gives you an idea of like, here's the next thing that you're supposed to do in a good paragraph and a good introduction and a good main body, right? This is the fill in the blanks that kind of keep you moving and avoid you from getting writer's block. So use the Mad Lib the way that you see fit. Again, a good writer is going to put this in their own words. Somebody that needs help with their writing might literally choose to sort of borrow my words. And I'm okay with that, at least at this stage of the learning game. Obviously, when you get to the end of 10th grade, you are not going to have a Mad Lib on the Regents exam, and you're going to have learned how to do this on your own by that point. But you'll have lots of practice with the couple that we're going to do here at the end of 9th grade and social distance remote learning. And then in 10th grade with Miss Sayheim, you'll do some more. So we'll get everybody squared away, hopefully by Regents exam at the end of 10th grade. So let's come back up. The enduring issue, the common thread, if you will, that I am going to use to tie these 5 documents together is the issue of, or the idea of, food security. Here's my really bad Pandora bracelet that I'm going to draw over here. Right, and I'm just going to label this. This is food security. Oh boy, I can't write with this at all. I should just stop. My handwriting is that of a kindergartner when I write with the cursor. Now, what does food security really mean, right? Food security is basically like how much access to this limited resources that it takes to feed everybody. How much access to food does a society have, right? And how does that food security help the society advance? We've talked about this a lot in class, especially at the beginning of the year. If you do not have food security, if you're hungry, right, and you're worried about starvation and dying, and it could be caused by drought or just a lack of actual food available. Society doesn't grow so fast like that, right? People are worried about feeding themselves. They're not worried about advancing society in other ways. And the documents I'm going to put on my Pandora bracelet of food security, I'm going to use document 1 that has to do with the Neolithic Revolution. So there's my little document 1 bead on my bracelet. I'm going to use, if I scroll down, I don't know if I'm going to lose the writing here if I scroll down here, guys, but we're going to find out. Let's see if I scroll down. Yeah, I'm going to lose the writing, but I'll come back to it. Here in document 2, I see that there's a whole bunch of people. Remember, the largest populations at the bottom of the pyramid. You get a whole bunch of people are farmers and slaves, and they're providing food security to the Egyptian Empire. And I'm going to use document 4. This is from the European feudal era. I know because there's a big castle in the background with a moat. And I've got people transporting food, maybe ostensibly on these boats and then along the river. I've also got a serf or a peasant doing some farming out in the field outside of the castle. And hopefully you learn from your own reading from that unit, because we were remote by that point. You learned from your own reading that this feudal system really had to do with land ownership. And why was the land important? Because if you controlled land, that meant that you control food. And if you control the food security, well, you can make people do anything, right? We'll work for food. So we're going to use documents 4, 2, and 1. So I just come back up here to my bracelet, and I'm just going to finish drawing that because it's important to me to embarrass myself with more bad drawings of beads. Okay, so I've got my 3 documents I'm going to use, document 1, 2, and 4, and we're going to write an essay about food security. So now I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to go over to the Mad Lib screen here. All right, great. Hope this is working for you all. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, hopefully that you can see it. Let me try and blow this up. Touch, there we go. That's nice and big now. Okay, so here's our Mad Lib, right? And it says throughout history, and then the Mad Lib asks you to fill in a social scientist, and it said that these social scientists have always agreed. And then what is this enduring issue that they agree upon? And so this is how I filled in the Mad Lib, keeping in mind that we're writing about food security and the fact that society doesn't really advance if people are worried about hunger and where their food is going to come from. You get very little social advancement. So this is how I filled the Mad Lib. I'm just going to get those ideas out and then use, my filler words, or again, sort of to help kids that aren't great writers understand how to keep moving. So throughout history, sociologists, remember our social scientists, the sociologist is worried about social development. Sociologists have always agreed that food security with limited resources always affect the growth of human society. Perfect. I don't know why it doesn't like the, there we go. With regards to this, I screwed it up. By typing that other word, I screwed up my my plug and play. And well, I'm just going to have to do it. With regards to this, an enduring issue that has existed over time is that some people list a human emotion. So what human emotion do people experience when they do not have food? They are probably afraid. Some people are afraid of hunger and starvation. And so with the Mad Lib, sometimes you have to adjust some of the words. So I need to take out this want and change it a little bit. Let's see, they're afraid of hunger and starvation, and now I need a human desire. And society will not advance when people are worried. There's the human emotion. Worried about where their food or next meal is going to come from. One example of this is choose a document, describe a main idea. So now I'm back to our documents that we've chosen. Here's document 1. The main idea has to do with this first economic revolution in the history of man, the momentous change from being a food gatherer to a food producer. So back to my Mad Lib, one example of this is during the Neolithic Revolution, when humans change from, oh, now you have to endure my bad typing here. Food seeker, right? Or a gatherer. Gatherer is a weird word to type. To a food producer. It's fixing the grammar. All right, one example of this is during the Neolithic Revolution when humans changed from food gatherers to food producers. Another excellent demonstration of how this issue has endured is, now I have to move to my next document and the main idea from document. And so we chose ancient Egypt. And the pharaoh had sort of designed a society with tons of slaves and farmers. I will fix that spelling in a minute. All right, so I'm just taking what the document is showing me. If you go back to that document, which we will in a second, put a space in there. If I come back to that document, I see that the pharaoh's social hierarchy system has farmers and slaves at the bottom. And so we know that's where the most people are. And so you've got this huge population of farmers and slaves that provide food security so that the rest of society can, that Egyptian empire could advance and grow. Last but not least, and we're choosing a final document. So our Pandora bracelet showed us, so that would be document 4 on the feudal European system. Last but not least, during the feudal period of Europe, serfs, or it should be peasants, worked the land to produce food for the lords and kings. And this also shows the importance that this issue had over time. Certainly, and now we're back to our social scientists again, so it's going to be the same one from up here. So certainly sociologists would agree that understanding the impact of this enduring issue had on the past would lead to, and what will it lead to in the future and present generations, probably a better understanding of how important food security is in allowing society to advance. Like maybe the time period we're living through right now, right? We've never really lived, at least in my lifetime or your lifetime, we've never lived through a time period where you go to the supermarket and you're like, where's the beef? Right? Like sometimes there's no food in the supermarket. And that's like really, really weird for us. Imagine that on a grand scale. People wouldn't have time to do anything else, right? It would just be like pure desperation mode. And society would not advance or grow very quickly. The economic growth slows down when people worry about their food security, etc. So as far as a desired outcome and why it's important to understand this for present and future generations, let's finish that Mad Lib. It will lead to, certainly sociologists would agree that understanding the impact of this enduring issue had on the past will lead to a better understanding of just how important food security is in developing society for present and future generations. There you go. So that's kind of the gist of how you use the Mad Lib. And then moving down to the main bodies, this says, now I did have a question about this on email that was, I thought, very important. It said, Mr. Connolly, do you mean that we're going to have 3 main body paragraphs? Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You're going to have a main body paragraph for each of, where's my bracelet, for, main body paragraph that talks about document 1's information, main body paragraph for document 2 on ancient Egypt, and a main body paragraph for document 4 on feudal Europe. So you'll have 4 main body paragraphs, and then you just use the Mad Lib to kind of help kick you in the right direction there too. Historically, some people, and then we list in a human emotion, it's the same one from up here, right? So historically, some people fear periods of starvation and hunger, and what do they want? They want food security that will help settle there and put their mind at ease and allow society to grow. So notice how I re-clarify every time we talk about food security. I have to kind of go like another step and talk about like, why is that important? For instance, like food is not an enduring issue. I can't just write about food. Historically, some people want food. Like that's not really an enduring issue. You have to go a little bit beyond that and sort of like bring your logical thinking one more step further than just kind of like a basic concept and explain like, how does that really affect society? A great example of this is, and then so I'm going to stop filling this in for you because this is where you really need to kind of go back and write a little bit, but use the Mad Lib to kick you in the right direction, right? A great example of this is, and you have to choose a document, describe the main idea. So here's the document we chose, document 1, and I have to read this and explain the main idea of how food security is achieved during that time period. And then the fact, right? It is a fact that, and this document has some very clear facts here about Paleolithic men moving from food gatherers to a more of a Neolithic man where they are food producers and they cultivate edible plants and breed animals, right? So that's the type of information that you'd stick in there as a fact. And the according to, you can pull those quotes right out of the document. And then, of course, the sociologist, kind of back to our thesis statement up here, a sociologist would agree that understanding the impact of the Neolithic Revolution with regards to food security allows us to understand the importance of food security at our own time period in history right now and in the future. Okay, so use the Mad Lib to the best of your ability. Hopefully I've demonstrated and modeled how to fill that in. I think if you go back and reread this introduction, you go, wow, it's a pretty solid sounding introduction, probably something that is well more advanced than what you're already used to writing at a 9th grade level, right? So that's it. Hopefully that helped, and good luck. Try and knock the enduring issue essay out now. I think you've got all the information that you need to do it. Great.